Hi everybody. Today I'm making over 3 of these Dollar Tree carvable pumpkins. These are among the worst things Dollar Tree sells for Halloween. They look terrible, but we can fix that. The first one is a leather texture, and what I'm doing is just ripping up some brown grocery bags. You can get these at Dollar Tree. I ripped off all the straight edges so everything has a torn edge, and then I'm just ripping them into smaller squares, maybe 2 by 2. Now to get started with that, I'm going to put them in some water and then squeeze it out. All I'm trying to do is break up the fibers a little bit to make them more malleable. And before I even get into the Mod Podging here, I wish I had painted the pumpkin. I ended up having to do multiple layers of the bags because I left the pumpkin orange, and it is fluorescent orange. So, paint your pumpkin first. And anywhere there was a seam, like there's that seam around the top where you would carve into it, and there's the seam down the side, I made sure to go over that multiple times just to hide that, because I don't like that seam. I don't like the texture of the styrofoam. I just don't like that. So now I am chasing out any bubbles. There's not that many because I really use my hands a lot when I'm using Mod Podge, just to stick everything down really good. This is it after everything's coated, and I'm taking another piece of the brown paper bag. It's wet, it's crumbled up. I'm just going to slap a bunch of Mod Podge on it. This looks like a lot, but I needed to seal the paper, act as glue, and act as a stiffener because there's no structure to the stem we're making right now. It's just rolled up paper. So I just rolled it up and ripped the ends open so I can have something to stick on top of the pumpkin. You can really play around with these stems and do whatever you want. You can do a longer one. You can just do a little stubby one. And that's not going to stay in the position you put it in as soon as you put it down. So I was working with my heat gun a little bit to get it to stay where I wanted to. Like I wanted it to stay curled up like that. So I curled it up, held it, and just hit with the heat gun a little bit. And now I have 3 hands. That's my sister. She's helping me. My camera was not recording for this. Of course, I always, whenever I see some YouTuber say, oh, my camera was recording, I'm like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. But yeah, apparently that happens. So this is a Waverly Distress Antique Chalk Paint Wax. I put it all over, everywhere, wiped it off, went back, and put it in the recesses, like right here, to darken those up some. Then I went back, wiped that off. Before I wiped things off, I dried them a little bit with the heat gun because I wanted the pigment to stay on there. And then I'm going back and going in the recesses, wiping that off, and then going back again and wiping off the high points. So they're the lightest, the recesses are the darkest, and you have to use the gloss Mod Podge to get this kind of finish on it because the matte Mod Podge doesn't repel the wax the same way, I guess. See, now you can really see the shadows, the highlights, the contours. Now for the second pumpkin, I'm starting out with white chalk paint, giving it a coat of paint. I wanted this fabric. I told everybody I wanted Kelly Kapowski fabric, and nobody knew what that meant. And then I found it, and I found that picture. Tell me that's not the same pants she's wearing. I wanted to do this because I saw that Kelly Kapowski floral. It's like $12, and no, I'm not paying $12 for something that's smaller than this. Not when I could make it. This is a pillow sham from Goodwill that was 99 cents for 2 of them. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting out the pieces because there's a lot of white in the background, or the cream color, whatever color it really is. And I'm cutting them out so when I put them on the pumpkin, they can all lay together to form one kind of cohesive picture of these flowers. See, you can see where the cuts are, but if you back up a little bit, it looks like one piece of fabric. So now I'm using the matte Mod Podge, mostly because I don't want shiny fabric. And because there is that hole in the middle, I made sure to put something dark over it, just in case. I put Mod Podge down on the pumpkin first, stick the fabric down, and then peel the fabric back and put the Mod Podge on the back of the fabric. I just felt like that helped it stick a little bit. And then really work the Mod Podge into the fabric and really work the fabric into the pumpkin inside the little contours. And once I got one piece down, I did go over it real quick, like maybe 20 seconds, just to solidify it a little bit. It's not enough to dry it, it's not enough to do anything besides making sure that this isn't going to slide all over the place. And then I'm lining this piece up and trying to cover all the edges. If you make sure you're kind of putting things on there on the bias, you can stretch them. So there's a warp and a weave to fabric that goes up and down and back and forth. If you put it diagonally, you can stretch the fabric a little bit more and kind of ease it into where you want it to go. And there's going to be some bubbles, there's going to be some wrinkles. You can obsess over those, but I just let them be unless they were really big, and I'm going to show you what happens when I had a big fold over here. See, there's this big fold, so I cut in, kind of making like a reverse dart, I guess, or an actual dart, until I could peel down. Stick it down, put some Mod Podge over it, and you can see that when you're up close on it, but you can't see anything once it's done. And it's sitting on your bookcase, and you're on the other side of the room. Now I'm taking my Treasured Gold paint from Plaid, and I'm going to coat this little stem I made. This is Hardy paper clay, and there's the gnat that's been bothering me for a week and a half still. This clay is a little expensive for using it to make a stem. You can use any air-dried clay, you could use polymer clay, you don't have to use clay, you could use something else. Walmart has one that's okay, it's called Polyform by Sculpey. It's alright. So I just glued that on there. And the only reason it's not fully painted is because I wanted to get it on there, finish painting it, and take the pictures while it was still drying, because I didn't want to have to wait and then take pictures later because I was losing a lot of light. And that's that. And you can see some of the places where it's cut and some of the little scraggly ends, but it wasn't $12. For this one, I wanted to make a rusted iron pumpkin. This is Micaceous Iron Oxide by Golden. It's a painting medium, not really painting, it's just a medium for pastel artists that if they wanted to work on a slick surface like a piece of wood, they could put this down first. And it dries like sandpaper, so the pastels have something to grab onto. I've never used it for that. I've used it to make stuff look like iron. And I'm just putting on a coat here. It's water-based. It's actually pieces of iron suspended in a medium. This jar is, I'm gonna say, 15 years old? Because I got it when I still lived in Florida. I haven't lived in Florida for 10 years now. And to make the stem, I'm just covering the stem that came with it with some foil. It's not supposed to look like a Hershey's Kiss, but it does. Then I glued that down. I'm just going to go over that with some more paint. This is about 2 coats, and it's on there, and everything looks really nice and solid. You can see a little bit of the texture through it, but it's not going to bother me. These are the paints I'm using to achieve the rust finish. I've got some reds and a yellow. I don't have an orange, even though orange is probably the color you think of, because I wanted to mix those colors to make a yellowy red and a redder yellow instead of a straight up orange. This little pot of powder is Perfect Pearls. It's hard to explain what it is. It's a mica, but it has a binder inside of it that, when activated with water, sticks to whatever you're putting it on. So this is the bronze color. I'm just trying to get that kind of shimmery, orangey, rusty look. If you don't have Perfect Pearls, you don't need to go out and get it. You can use eyeshadow, you can use mica, you could use a bronzer, anything that you really have that's got that kind of color, because we're covering most of it up and then we're putting a little bit on top. This is that bright yellow paint that I showed you earlier, and I'm just dry brushing it on. There's not too much paint on here, but what I am putting on, I'm then wiping off. And I'm working in a lot of layers. This is that Tuscan red, I think. And again, I'm just going on real lightly. Dry brushing it on and then wiping it off. Now I'm adding a little bit of Liquitex Matte Medium. This is to basically thin the paint out. I use this because I feel like when you add water to acrylic paint, it kind of breaks it down a little bit. So this is just a clear medium. It's basically paint with no pigment in it. And it's just allowing me to create washes of color. Now I'm going in with a little bit more red and a little bit more of the matte medium. And as you can see, I'm using very little paint. And I can get this on here and wipe it off pretty easily because it's so thinned out by the matte medium. And this is pretty much a process of trial and error. There are other ways to do rust finishes, but this is what worked for me. And because I want those colors to all kind of go together, I'm really only using the yellow and that one red. I don't think I use any of the chalk paint or any of the other red. So now I'm actually mixing up an orange, but you can see it's very ruddy, very rusty, very brown. And just going on there and dragging it down. You know how rust kind of weeps, I guess, like drips down? I'm just going over, hitting the high points. It looks pretty good right now, but I do go back and just put a little bit more of that Perfect Pearls on there for a little bit of shimmer. Because I want to make sure you know that it's metal underneath there, even though there's rust. And now I'm going back with the Micaceous Iron Oxide one last time to deepen up the contours between the pumpkin, around the stem, along the bottom. And I did just kind of brush it on there. And that's it. I like this one. Don't like the stem, but what you gonna do? I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and have a wonderful day. See you next time. Bye. Hi everybody, welcome to another new video. Before we even get into this one, can I ask you to subscribe, and like, and comment, and turn on your notifications, and follow me on Instagram? All that good stuff. I am working on one of these Dollar Tree pumpkin forms. I cannot tell you what I went through to find one of these things. I saw them online and I said, okay, people have these, Dollar Tree is selling them. There's probably a good month before I see one. I did not find one until last week. I went to my local Dollar Tree almost every day. Went to another Dollar Tree. Went out of town to Dollar Trees, had friends look in different states, could not find any. Because I knew I wanted to do this project specifically. And I know you're looking at the thumbnail and saying that's not what he used in the thumbnail, but what I'm doing is demonstrating how to do this with a thicker yarn, because I started this video with the velvet yarn and you couldn't see anything because it's very thin. My hands are big, my fingers were all over the place. So I'm just using a thicker yarn to show you how it's done. And all I've done here is just wind a ball of yarn. I was cutting off workable sections. They were probably, I don't know, 3-4 yards long. Right here I've got my ball and I'm just tying it to the bottom in front of that first rung, I guess. I don't know what we're going to call those because we're going to be talking about them a lot. And all I'm doing here is I am covering that whole bottom section between the first rung and the last rung with yarn, because this doesn't get covered while we're wrapping everything else. And I went through each one of these like maybe 5 or 6 times. When I was using the mustard colored yarn that I'm going to be using later, it was more obvious when you could see the green through it. But with this, you don't really notice it as much because it's gray going on dark green. But I just wrapped and wrapped and wrapped, and I glued every so often. In retrospect, I would keep wrapping all the way around the outside of this frame thing. Go all the way up the sides, across the top, back down the other side, and meet up where you started. For me, I think that would just work better since I've been through this whole project. And how we're going to do this is we're going to go underneath every rung. So I'm just going to glue off right here. And every time we're passing one of these rungs, we're putting the yarn underneath, over the top, and back underneath to the next rung. That's the way we get these ridges that you'll see later on, or you probably saw in the pictures on the thumbnail. See, underneath, over, underneath, over, underneath, over, underneath, over, and underneath. Now I'm going back to the beginning and just tightening that up. The problem I ran into, which I'm showing you how to start this from the bottom, this is how I started it. My final pumpkin, I started it like this, is that I wrapped the bottom and it had a certain tension on it and everything looked nice. And when I got to the middle, I started pulling it. Those rungs are spaced further apart. So as I was pulling, they were flexing more and the middle was getting tighter, which meant the bottom was getting baggier. So I think starting in the middle and either working from the middle down or the middle up, and then from the middle up or the middle down, whichever one you went, that would maybe distribute the tension of the yarn a little bit better, because it's going to be impossible for anyone to keep perfect tension on this thing the entire time, just because of it's awkward to hold. It's awkward to get everything straight without making it tight. It's easy to get it too tight or too loose in some sections. So I'm going to show you how to do the middle right after this. But this is really all it is. It's moving your yarn underneath, over, and underneath and over, just over and over again. This is where I'm showing you how to do the same thing, but in the middle. And I moved to the middle just to show you, to make sure everybody could understand that you're going underneath and over. But this is how I should have started. Looking back, this is what I should have done. Except I would put it on there and I would glue every single one just to make sure you have a very sturdy place to start. I make sure it was very straight, very sturdy, not too tight. And I think I go back and add some glue. Yeah, so if I had done it like this, I would have started where I'm starting right here and gone all the way up. And then when I was done with that, flip it over, get to the middle again, and then go all the way down. I think I would have had a nicer finished project had I done that. And I don't show a lot of me doing this on camera because it was very hard for me to try to keep this in frame, flat on the table, and wrap this stuff. So I did a lot of it sitting down at my computer in my office while I was watching some Netflix. So this is what happens when you use the regular size yarn. This is Velux yarn from Lion brand. It's in the color, let me see what color it is. It is in the color Marigold, and it's really nice. I mean, it looks like velvet, but it's just a thin chenille yarn. You can see on the back I added some extra glue on the edges just to try to keep everything tight, but you can see already that the bottom part is getting baggy. And now I'm going through again and just showing you this is how I did it. And if you are looking for a time frame to do this, my time frame is probably not going to be your time frame because, as I've mentioned so many times, I have really bad hands. I'm still in a considerable amount of pain from doing this, just from moving the foam around and lifting it up and trying to find an angle to work on it. I watched the entire season of 13 Reasons Why Season 2. 13 episodes, they're each about an hour long, and I still wasn't done when it was over. So, say 13 hours of me wrapping this on and off. I don't think it would take most people 13 hours. It took me 13 hours. But I was also trying to figure it out as I went and trying to see what was the right thing to do and fixing my mistakes. So if you start from the middle and go up and glue more often than I did, I think that you could get it done in maybe, 12 hours. And I'm making sure that I glue at every end right here. But see, if this was already wrapped, I don't think I would have to glue as much as I did. And the glue ended up looking messy, and I had to go back and kind of stitch over it to clean it all up. So this is the finished pumpkin wreath. It's big, and it looks kind of bad at the bottom, but it's going on a wall, and it looks good enough. See, and I'm showing you how I had to go back after everything was done with a needle and yarn to wrap that top edge and the sides. Now I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do for the stem. I don't know why I chose to make a pom-pom. I think I thought that it was going to be easy and that it was going to look cute, but all it did was end up looking like a misshapen beanie with a big pom-pom on top of it. But if you like this look, here's how I did it. I used the Clover pom-pom maker. I wanted to say about the finished state of this project is that for me to hang on my wall, to put on my door, this is fine. I would give this to my mom. I would give this to one of my friends. But in the state that it's in this video, I would not sell this. Just because the back is kind of a mess. The inside's kind of a mess. I think you'll be able to see a little bit of it. I was trying really hard at first to make sure I didn't show the back of it, but there's really no point in me doing a video if I don't show you what I did wrong and tell you how to do it right. There's enough of that going on in DIY videos where somebody does something and you can tell it's wrong and it's not going to work out right, but they just kind of shoot around it. So you can see the bottom and the sides there, how they're kind of all bunched up and messy. It's really bad towards the bottom. But I had to go back and pull each one of those loose pieces of yarn at the bottom and re-glue them all. So see, I'm putting this on here, and then I'm like, nope, that's not gonna work. And then I just went in and I wrapped everything else on the pumpkin, so I thought, why not wrap the stem? So just started from the bottom. I'm gonna add a little bit of glue at the top. And all in all, this project ended up costing $1 for the form. The ball of yarn is $5, but I could still make another pumpkin out of it. So Say that's $2.50, so for under $4, you're getting this enormous velvet pumpkin. I think that's a really good deal. Of course, you're putting hours and hours of time into it, but you know. So see, you can see there, kinda. I flipped that around real fast so I don't want anybody to see it, but start from the middle, and I think you'd be fine. I would start another one from the middle, but I don't ever want to do one of these again. This is not something that I ended up enjoying. It was, I mean, I'm pretty sore now. My elbows, really. I don't know why it's my elbows, but my elbows and my arms and my back was hurting. It was I took on too big of a project. So there it is. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, see my poor hands. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you attempt to make one and, you know, do as I say and not as I do, maybe, kinda. But it's all problem solving, so gave you the best tips I could, and I hope you guys like it. And I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Hi everybody. Today I'm working on a fall wreath. I actually found this wreath on the side of the road. Somebody was throwing it away and I was like, nope, that's too expensive to throw away, and nothing was wrong with it. Then I got it home and I thought it was a circle, but it's more of an oval, and one side is definitely thinner than the other side, but I'm gonna make it work because I'm going to concentrate my florals on the bottom left-hand corner, which is my preferred method anyway, most of the time. I really wanted to challenge myself with this because I never buy these pre-made bushes. There's always something in there that I'm like, no, I'm not even going to use that. So I saw this one and I love these two orange peonies and these two more maroon ones. I like the orange yellow berries. I like that the purple was in there. I didn't like the purple that was in the bush. So to supplement that, I got some matching flowers from Dollar Tree. These were from Walmart. They went really well. It was like a nice bridge between the red and the orange. These are maybe from Dollar Tree. I've got some of these pumpkin stems. More pumpkin stems. I have some natural stuff off to the side. And I've just kind of glazed over a little bit with some gold spray paint. And these are the grapevine balls from Dollar Tree. Now, a lot of people, when they see a wreath that I make, they say like, oh, I wish I could do that. And really all I'm doing is gluing stuff to something else, you know? Like, it's not rocket science. You do have to have a certain eye for it, but I think the biggest problem people face is that they don't know what goes together. So when I saw this bush, I was like, you could literally cut everything off of there, glue it on a wreath, and you'd be done. It's not enough for a wreath for me because I'm a little bit extra, but I wanted to go through my process of what I bought to add to it and why I bought those colors and why I bring in other colors. And normally I would be gluing these flowers into the wreath with their stems on, but I couldn't cut the stems. My hands just, they're not, they're not my friends. So I'm setting up this kind of arch around the bottom quarter of the wreath with just these big main flowers. And now I kind of have all my stuff on the side, and I want to establish more of the lines that I'm working with. So I'm putting in my longer things, my things that are going to provide a little movement. If you saw in the pictures earlier, you could see the little pumpkins waving in the wind. And I'm really just going through and adding. And I don't think you really need any instruction beyond that because you know what looks good. And if you put something down before you glue it and you look at it and it doesn't look right, you pick it up and move it. If you did glue it and you don't know what it looks like, take it off and glue it somewhere else. But I'm always a really big fan of this like diagonal lower left hand corner swirl thing, swipe, whatever you want to call it. So right now I've mostly stayed with the same kind of this orangey kind of color with the maroon burgundy kind of color. These yellow berries right here stand out. So now that I've got most of the color established, I feel more confident about putting those in right now, because I feel like if I put them in earlier, that's all I would have looked at is those yellow berries, because they're the brightest. They would stand out more than anything. So if you're worried about putting something like that, try putting it in later on. I'm just tucking my pine cones and my grapevine balls in any little holes, just to kind of break up the monotony of just nothing but flowers and leaves. And like I said, I just kind of very lightly dusted these with some spray paint. I wasn't going to include many leaves, but I did pick some up because there were some spots showing where I didn't want them to show, like right there. And I filled in with those, and I think I go back later and add some more green. It was looking kind of monotone, and I want it to be monotone, but not completely monotone. And you can see I added those little berries and then this sprig of whatever it's supposed to be. And now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do in this hole. And I went through a lot of stuff. I went through a Dollar Tree pumpkin, the velvet pumpkin that I made, another Dollar Tree pumpkin. I attempted making a bow, but I didn't want a regular bow, so I was trying to just do some loops and some tails. And I could have put a gigantic florist bow on this and called it done, but I don't like that. I really don't like that. For me. I mean, if somebody's like, hey, will you make me a wreath with a giant bow on it? I'm like, absolutely, show me the money. But for me, if I can get away with not doing it, I'm not going to do it. So this is just sped up of me really trying to make it happen. And I am really trying to make one of those pumpkins happen. Even though the orange one is not the right color, the velvet one is too big. The brown one's too big, and that yellow one is too small, I think. I think if it would have been a bigger size, it would have worked. So now I'm just taking raffia, and I do this a lot where I just take the raffia and like tie a big bow in it. Not trying to make it perfect or anything. It's raffia, it's going to be all over the place. Then I just kind of fluffed that up and stuck it in there. And it doesn't show completely, but it's there, and the tails hang down, and it gives it a little bit of movement. There I go with the pumpkin again. I am determined to get that in there. Oh no, I'm just going to put a flower over it. Perfect. Oh, no, I want it in there one more time. It's not happening. Get it out of there. It looks like a bell pepper. So yeah, I just stuck some more flowers in there, came back, filled in a little bit more. And that's it. You're gluing stuff. So don't be afraid of making wreaths. Just go for it. You know, stick them in there before you glue them. If you want to just try anything, get the Dollar Tree stuff. Even if you're like, oh, I don't want to put the Dollar Tree flowers on my house, just buy them, work with them, figure out what your design style is, and then you can go to Hobby Lobby and be charged their astronomical, ridiculous prices. So this is it all finished, and I have some shots of the rest of it for you. I took these outside, and the light was kind of pretty, but I admit to manipulating it a little bit with Photoshop to make it even prettier. I hope you guys have a great day. If you could please remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, follow me on Instagram. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Hi everybody. Today I'm working on 3 Dollar Tree makeovers. I was watching Annihilation with Natalie Portman and Jennifer Jason Leigh a couple months ago, and I was totally into all these weird animals they had with this vegetation growing out of them. And when I saw these very cheap looking skeleton animals at Dollar Tree and Dollar General and Family Dollar, I thought there had to be a way to make them look better, and of course the answer, as always, is spray paint it gold. But I didn't just want to spray paint it gold, so I added some things to them before I spray painted them so they would be a little bit more interesting. You don't need anything specific. I pretty much grabbed some stuff that was around my house. I have some pearls, some beads, some metal spikes. They're plastic, but they're supposed to look like metal. Some leftover spring florals I got on clearance from Walmart, and I just kind of went for it. I put the pearls in the back of the spider right here because I wanted to mimic the shape of, is it the spine? Spiders don't have spines, but I guess that's what that's supposed to be. And to bring that over into the legs, I added some pearls on there. This was one 98-cent pack of pearls from Walmart with the adhesive on them, and they went pretty far. Now I am using, I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't know, I just wanted something long and spiky that gave this suggestion of vegetation coming out from the back of the head, kind of like a collar or a crown. And then I added these things. I have no idea why I bought these. They're very plastic looking. I mean, they are plastic, but they look like plastic too. But they were 50 cents on clearance at Walmart, so I guess I must have bought them in spring for something. Really, the sky's the limit with this. You can glue pretty much anything on here, and although it might look weird and out of place, once it's spray painted gold, it's going to look great. This is a fall floral from Dollar Tree. Again, I don't know what this is supposed to be. It's kind of flocked, but not. You could also do this with some twigs. I just wanted to use the plastic florals because I knew they'd be a little less prone to breaking, I guess. And now I have some other big pearls that were off to the side, and I am just going to kind of cluster them on the head. Just really to give it a little bit more interest, and then I took it outside and I gave it a good coat of gold spray paint. My preferred spray paint is Rust-Oleum Bright Coat in Metallic Gold. That is the best gold spray paint you can get easily. And that's what it looks like. It looks terrible in pictures. It looks so much shinier in person. If you're by a Michaels that does sell Montana products, they have a gold spray paint that's beautiful too. These are the skulls on the little pedestals from Dollar Tree. What I was showing you is that I bought both of these this year. One of them has a closed mouth and the head looks really weird. And then one of them has this hinged jaw and the face shape looks so much better. So I bought the closed mouthed one, and then I saw the open mouthed one at another Dollar Tree, and I was like, well, I gotta get that. And I started out with this one already sprayed gold. These things I'm gluing here are called Billy Buttons. They're from Walmart. Don't know what a Billy Button is. They're just kind of like, I don't know what they're kind of like. They're just little spiky, flowery things. I'm adding some random flowers in here just to fill up the head because I'm going again for a crown here. You can see my little spikes in the background, some little chip beads. This is part of the skeleton garland. I just cut one of the skeletons up. because I guess if I was a golden king, I'd probably wear people bones in my head. Maybe not. There's a spine, you know, because that's something you need. And let's stick a foot in there too, maybe. Skull. See, none of this looks right at all, but once it's spray painted gold, everything becomes very cohesive. And I'm adding some more of these purple flock twig things. I like Dollar Tree's floors a lot. It's just sometimes they make up things that just aren't anything. I mean, this kind of looks like an asparagus fern, but that's not what it is. This green thing, I don't know. I was using these to give myself a little height because I wanted everything concentrated on one side, kind of. So those are in there. And now I'm starting to add some of the spikes. I think these were from Michaels. They're actually sew on. You can see some holes on the side are visible. That doesn't bother me. It made more sense to use this with the holes in them instead of going out and buying something. And one of my little centers fell off on that flower, so I just glued another spike in place. Now I'm adding some more of this, whatever it is, green stuff. Now I really want to track down the tag and see what they're calling this. So you pretty much just keep adding. I think this would be a fun thing to do, is go and get the skull, go get your spray paint, and challenge yourself to make one of these and make the spider just with the things you have around. And right here I'm going in to add these chip beads. I don't know what stone this is. I used to do a lot of jewelry making back in the day, and I have a lot of beads left over that I'm always trying to use for something. So I'm using them here, but I don't know what that's supposed to be. I don't think it's real, whatever it is. It's probably imitation made out of glass, but it gave me that kind of shard-looking texture I was looking for. And I'm really just putting some glue on and sticking them in there. I'm trying to form a outline right now, I guess, or a base. Because I'm going to go back after I have my base in and really start packing in the stones and getting them out at some good angles. As you can see here, I'm just going back and making sure some of them are turned up, but they stick out some. You're mostly just adding a lot of texture, so everything shows up when it's all spray painted. And here it is. I really like this one, but word of warning, I put so much stuff on it that I had to stuff the head with some dried beans to get it to stand up straight, because it was leaning to one side. This bat is ridiculous. As soon as I saw it, I didn't get one because I was like, there's nothing I can do with that. Like, nothing. I can't think of a single thing. But I bought it anyway. And then I remembered I had this frame from the Dollar Tree from last year or 2 years ago. And I was like, well, what if he was like a taxidermy thing? You know, like the butterflies with the pins, but he's just so stiff, and I needed to figure out a way to change that. So I set up this very rinky-dink and probably dangerous heat gun assembly over here. It is my heat gun that's turned on top of a picture frame being supported by a bottle of tacky glue. If you do this, be careful. I was fine. I had no problem. There were no fumes or anything. It smelled like burning plastic. Not even burning plastic, just like warmed up plastic. As always, you know, work in a ventilated area. My back door was open because it was raining for 100 years. And I know that I kind of want him to look like he is guarding himself or shielding himself from something. So I am moving his wings in because they were out and they just looked ridiculous. He looked very flat. So I want to give them a little bit of shape, so I'm bending them at the joints. So there's one up there where the shoulders would be, and then there's one, like, I guess that would be the elbow, and then, you know, the wrist. I don't think bats have elbows, but I'm not a batologist. So see, he kind of cowers. And if you have a part that's too hot to hold, use some pliers, anything. This didn't get super hot in any one area because it's plastic, but it could very easily, depending on how long you heat it for. And don't go overboard, because if you heat it too much and you bend it too far and it gets all stretched out and weird, it's going to be hard to get it back. So I think this is pretty much it. Yeah, that's how I want him to look. Just kind of like, oh no. And then I went out and sprayed this frame with the Bright Coat Metallic Gold, and it looks amazing. This is how good the paint looks. I don't know why it only looks this good in this video, but look at that. That looks like metal. And it's a plastic frame from the Dollar Tree, from the Halloween section. And I've spray painted the little back where the skeleton was, I think it was a skeleton, just with matte black spray paint. And I spritzed over a little bit of the gold, but you can't really see it. So here's our bat guy with his weird feet. And I just want to get him in the middle. Yeah, that looks really good. I love that paint. But definitely work in a ventilated area with that, because it is noxious. Now, the only place he's really touching on here when he's laying down is on his little shoulder blade areas and his feet. That was fine, because it's not like he needs to be cemented onto this board. And I just got him on there and pressed him down and let it cool. And there you go, 3 quick and relatively easy projects to do to level up your Dollar Tree finds. I really like the bat, just because I really, really love that frame. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Here's some closing shots. He looks great. I hope they sell that frame again. I'm going to get like 10 more. So if you could remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, share with your friends, follow me on Instagram, all that good stuff. I would really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And I'm trying to get my channel back to where it used to be. You guys have a nice day. Bye.